Hi guys, Christian here. In today's video, we're going to go through the real estate broker pitch session at the Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors. When a new home hits the market, typically all the real estate agents and brokers in the area will do a caravan. They'll go see all the new listings so that they can advise their clients on what's coming on the market and what new homes look like. In this session, we're going to go through a virtual pitch session from beginning to end. I pitch our newest listing about halfway through. As with everything during COVID, this meeting was done via Zoom. You get a chance to see how it's held. If you enjoy content like this, please make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it for whatever reason, give it a thumbs down. That lets me know not to create content like this in the future. So let's get right into this Broker Caravan pitch session.
Now look at this. Average days on the market, and we talk about, anything that comes on the market flies off the shelf. Look at the trend, especially as you get into 2020. Average market time, 16 days. In the fourth quarter, half of that quarter is a quarter that should be in the holiday season and slowing down. Just amazing. Median sales price, look at that, an increase of almost $100,000 in 2 years. That's about a 20% increase over a 2-year period. I didn't look where this one was. This is a high sell, $1,190,000 in zip code 91911.
Wow.
Wow, yeah. And this is the number of sales in the quarter. So you think there aren't any properties selling? Fourth quarter of 2020, more sales than any other quarter over the last 2 years. Just amazing, so that's significant volume. Now I looked this morning at the number of detached homes in zip code 91911 active. 8. 8 homes on the market. And if you want to look at how many weeks or days of inventory that is, this is basically a 12-week period. You got 107. So what's that? 9 homes? 9 homes, yeah. Per week. And you've got 8 homes on the market. You've got less than 1 week inventory in 91911. Just amazing.
Dennis, do you have any insight into what percentage of that is investors? Because this is an area that is really underinvested in by the city. There are always complaints of missing sidewalks. And what percentage of these do you think are people, first-time home buyers, and what percentage do you think are like investors in that area? This is like Castle Park, Otay.
Right, and I don't have any specific insight to that. I'm going to guess the investors, some of those are going to be flips, but I think a lot of the flips aren't even showing up until they're ready to flip, right? And those aren't sold to investors. I'm just going to guess it's well under a third of the property are investors. This is affordable housing, right? I think of 91911 as one of the most affordable areas in the South Bay. This is affordable, $580,000 for a 1,600 square foot house. That's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazing, huh? And we get over to Christian's property to pitch that, and you see where prices have gone out on the east side off of Parkway. Just incredible. But, as we've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks, it's affordability driven by these crazy low interest rates. Your buying power with these interest rates is just significant, and I keep cautioning about the other side of that double-edged sword, which is when interest rates move up, all of a sudden that affordability disappears, and that's when things will get interesting. But 20% increase in price in 2 years. Inventory currently less than 1 week, and sales volume in the fourth quarter of 2020, highest it had been in 2 years. Really interesting stuff. So that's what I got on stats, and I think you folks are seeing this kind of stuff all over in the market. Boy, what a tough time to be a buyer. What a tough time to be a buyer. But if you can lock in, a sub 2.5% interest rate for 30 years, or even get down around 2% for 15 years, I think it's probably worth running the obstacle course and going through all that trouble, right?
Could be.
First property I bought back when you could assume a loan. The interest rates were so high, I was able to assume a loan at only 10.25%. And new loans were running 15+% back then. Yeah, and no, Gary, I didn't have hair then either. So, it's one of those things. All right. Does anybody, other than Christian, have a property? Did anybody put an MLS number in there? If you've got a property that you want me to add to what we're pitching, just go ahead, unmute, let me know what the MLS number is, and I'll load it up. And in the meantime,
I have one. Repeat.
Yeah. MLS number, please.
PTP 200 2180.
See how that looks. Oh, we got one. All right. Anybody else? Let's get to it then. Christian, Esperanza Place.
Yeah.
I'll run the photos. Tell us about your listing.
Sure will, Dennis. As you guys know, I think it was the only one that was on the rally and ride for today. Now that we've got two, but we've had it coming soon for a while. The actual owner, his mother used to live there. Unfortunately, she passed away a couple months ago. It took us a couple weeks to get it prepared, and as we did, all of the neighbors came by, and we already had 2 or 3 offers prior to it going on the market. It just hit the market last weekend, and now, of course, there's been about 50 showings, and we're receiving 3 or 4 offers every day. So multiple counters have gone out already on the property, but it's gorgeous. It's pretty much turnkey on the inside. We had it completely cleaned out and touched up, and it's a great 5-bedroom, 3-bath property. Backs up onto Montevalle Park. It's ideal for what people are looking for, especially people that are coming out of a condo or townhome and want that extra space and that room for a home office and work at home and all those nice things as well. It's got great mountain views to the east. You've got Mount McGill and the park in the distance, and it's on a nice cul-de-sac right off of Hunt Parkway. So it's it'll have probably 15-20 offers here by the end of the week, and I assume that it's going to sell for about $40,000 or $50,000 above asking price. As you were mentioning, Dennis, in 91914 right now, which is Rolling Hills, East Lake Woods, some of the homes around Salt Creek, there's 4 homes on the market, so a total of 4 active properties. Our listing at 800 is the lowest priced one. The next closest is 999, and then there's 1,000,005. So there's absolutely nothing available, and that includes all of the townhomes and condos that are in that area as well. So when 800,000 is the lowest price listing in the 91914 area, there's such an amazing shortage right now that it's crazy. But I do feel like with the moratoriums in place, and now Biden's increased the current foreclosure moratorium until the end of June. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but as of 2020, I think that in all of San Diego County, there was a handful. I think there was, at the last count, about 17 properties that made it through the trustee sale process in an entire year. So it's just everybody's staying in their homes, and with the foreclosure moratoriums and forbearances and eviction moratoriums as well, there's no reason for people to leave, and there's not going to be any reason for people to move. But as we kind of work our way through this, we'll see what happens, as we get to July, August, September. I do feel like there's going to be a lot of people that either have to move for one reason or another, or their payments are now starting to kick back in again. And there's going to be some sellers that come on the market and inventory should go up. But in the meantime, for the next probably 4, 5, 6 months, prices are going to continue to go up, 10 or 15%. It's just like you said, Dennis, in 2019, the average was about 580. Now it's up to like 680. It's just, it's gone up about 20%, and it's just unsustainable. And we'll see what happens at the end of this, but it's a crazy market right now.
Yeah, that is amazing. It is sustainable if interest rates stay at this level and with wage growth. And those are a couple of really big ifs as we work our way through the pandemic. And it's really interesting too. Rich, I'm not getting into politics. It's more from an economic standpoint. But I think it's really interesting when you look at Biden's $1.9 trillion relief package. I'm a believer that the economy, especially small businesses, need serious help. And the challenge, as with anything in government, is always getting the money to the right place. That just isn't an easy thing to do. So I'm a supporter of that, but it was Larry Summers, the former Obama era Treasury Secretary, who was speculating that there was a chance that 1.9 trillion might even overheat the economy a little bit down the road, which would be very interesting. That was the only place that I had heard that, but we know what that would do to interest rates, right? You overheat the economy, and you got to start moving interest rates up to slow things down. And hey, if I were making the call, I'd take that risk to really get the economy back on its feet and going. But to Christian's point, I think we're going to see things very different late in the year. Just don't know exactly how it's all going to work out, because there's a lot of cross currents, and as I mentioned, farther down the road, because we've had, Prop 13 has kept a lot of long-time owners in their homes, right?
Right.
Because it's either Prop 60 or 90 if you qualify and you take your property tax base with you, or you don't move because it makes no sense from a property tax standpoint if you've been a long-time owner. I think the same thing's going to apply where people are locked in at these incredibly low interest rates. Why am I going to go and move out of a home where I've got a 2.25% interest rate into something where I'm paying a 3.5% interest rate? I look at my monthly payments and it makes no sense. So it'll be really interesting to see how that works out. And then I think there's also a fair number of people that are ringing the register, the sellers ringing the register at this point, thinking, wow, never thought I'd get this much for my home. I'm cashing out and I'm going to Kansas City or Knoxville or pick a city.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So really interesting stuff.
You've got the Elon Musks of the world too that are leaving and going to Austin, and I do see a lot more of the wealthy, you got your Joe Rogans, you've got your people that are paying an incredible amount of taxes, especially in California, that are taking off for Nevada or Texas or Washington State or someplace where there's no state income tax.
Christian, I'm kind of curious what you're seeing with your asset management relationships. Like, are they gearing up at all? There's such a buyer demand right now. What are like the bank managers? What are they looking at with some of their assets right now?
Rich, it's funny. There's no REOs, as we know. Back in January 2020, a couple of the guys that I know here in San Diego, the asset management companies were hiring. They were taking on more listing agents because the inventory was actually starting to climb a bit. And there was a couple people that had, double-digit listings or properties that were coming on the market or were in the foreclosure process back in, January, February of 2020. And those were obviously put on hold in March, and now there's just been nothing for the last year. So we did start to see an increase in the amount of trustee sale activity, and that kind of was a little bit of a a caution symbol when it came to what was going on with the real estate market. But nobody's really talked about it now that there's just a complete lack of inventory. Of course we're going to see prices skyrocket, and with interest rates as low as they are, people are clamoring for whatever they can get their hands on. And when you've got, this reminds me somewhat of 2005, but in 2005 we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, right? We weren't in the middle of people, losing their jobs and having all the chaos going on around them. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out. I do think that when somebody locks in a 2% interest rate or a 2.25% interest rate, it's going to be really hard for them to move. And I mean, it's been such an interesting ride to see, what's gone on since 2009, really. 2009 interest rates were 6.5–7%. And now they're down to 2%. So of course you can afford a much larger, much more expensive home than you could in 2009. But ever since they've been, the interest rates have been going down and the quantitative easing's come into the economy, inflation's obviously kicked in a lot. The prices have gone up dramatically. And with the COVID relief bill that's coming on, 1.9 trillion more, there's going to be more inflation. So I do think that we'll see prices go up and continue to go up at least through the end of this year. I don't know what's going to happen with a lot of the commercial real estate market, which I've been watching extremely closely as well. And it seems like with retail and office space, nobody seems to be talking about, the people on the commercial side that aren't making their loan payments, but there's 70 billion or so worth of commercial loans that are, in default right now. And there's, so much is in the commercial side that doesn't get talked about. And there's so many cracks right now in the economy that we need to work our way through. It's going to be a bumpy ride, but in the meantime, somebody asked me yesterday, should I sell my condo? And I'm like, not if you can hold on to it for another year and rent it out and make some cash flow, because it's going to go up another 15–20% because there's just really nothing on the market that's under 500,000 right now. So take advantage of it while it's appreciated. And we'll also see that, that hill as we get to it. You guys know, from most of you, from 2006, we could see the slowdown happen dramatically in 2006. And, the properties that we had that we were flipping, they stayed on the market longer, 3, 4, 5 months. And we're like, wow, we used to have 5, 6 offers in the first week. And now, they're on the market a lot longer. So we'll see that in the demand process when we work our way through this. But right now it's, when you see 10, 20 offers in the first week and prices are going up $50,000, $60,000 above asking price. And in San Diego, I mean, it used to happen like that all the time in San Francisco, but in San Diego, this is an anomaly, and we're just I guess we'll see where we land.
One thing they aren't talking about in San Diego is, a lot of homeowners are building so much equity, they're going to be able to refinance their way out of their forbearance. So if they're unemployed and they're able to hold on to their house, they're building enough equity. When the banks come back and say they add the debt to the back end, I don't see them losing their homes if the equity keeps growing in each house.
You're right about that. And the loan modifications, now that the banks are more in tune with, what they need to do, there's not going to be a lot of foreclosures. I mean, I got several phone calls from friends of mine that were big REO agents all over the country, asking me, are you gearing up for the wave of foreclosures? And I just don't see it happening. I mean, banks have really not wanted to foreclose unless, somebody hasn't made a payment for years and years, but they'll modify just about anything they possibly can in order to get, a payment out of somebody. And of course, the banks will be, much more apt to foreclose, I think, too, because there'll be so much equity in these properties. And, loan modifications only benefit the lenders. I mean, a lot of times homeowners are just like, wow, I want to get a loan modification so I can stay in my home. They got to really read the terms. I know a lot of people that got screwed completely from loan modifications back in, 2008, 9, and 10, where even if they got principal reduction, they still had to pay back the principal reduction when they sold the home. So maybe somebody got $150K knocked off the value of their loan. When they went to sell the home, they increased the value to that $150K, plus they added the payments and interest over that time frame. So these people got hit with a huge bill, even though their properties appreciated over that time frame. So it's really, you want to read the fine print when it comes to that, because banks obviously are on this for their own best interest. The only question I would have on that, Rich, is that a lot of times too, you have to qualify. And some of these prices that people are going to have to pay, even if they're getting a loan modification, they're not going to be qualified for them. So they're going to need to sell. There'll be a lot of people selling, I think, after the foreclosure moratoriums are over and the forbearance periods end. How many, I'm not sure, but just by the sheer numbers, I mean, having a year worth of foreclosures just basically stop. I mean, even in San Diego, there should have been 1,000, maybe 1,500. And to have zero, I mean, will that be another 1,000, 1,500 that we add, property wise? And can what will that look like? I don't know. I don't think it'll happen instantaneously when we hit July, but over the next year and a half, 2 years, we'll see where the process kind of goes.
Yeah, interesting to see. And for those of you that follow Stephen Thomas, the economist, he's not projecting any kind of a real flow of any significance. Largely due to the amount of equity that the homeowners have due to these appreciated prices that is very different than what we had back in 2006, 2007, where we had people doing the pick-a-pay loans, the negative amortization. They never could have made a fully indexed payment anyway, all that stuff. There wasn't equity then, there is now. And the one other thing that I've mentioned many times is you look at the rental rates, and I kind of look at the rental market as the safety net under the pricing, and rental prices are more than double what they were back then. I think that's largely just due to a shortage of housing in San Diego. I think pricing's probably gone beyond where that safety net is going to protect, but still it'll catch it at some point when it adjusts. And we know from an investment standpoint, when interest rates go up, cap rates go up. Cap rates go up, values have to come down, and they will, and it's not always immediate. But for apartment properties, for commercial properties, there'll be a repricing, due to that, unless there are offsetting rental increases. It's just a law of nature. Interest rates go up, cap rates go up, cap rates go up, values come down. Love this stuff. Okay, our Wednesday morning real estate economics. And fruit. Let's see. We've got another property to pitch. Hey, Christian, thank you so much for all that insight. Really appreciate that. Love that stuff.
Sure, Dennis. I'm glad that it's tough to get any kind of shared forum now when it comes to what's going on in the market, and I always appreciate PSAR having the the rally and rides and the weekly at least get-togethers where we can discuss what's happening. I remember back in the early 2000s when they started, and we went through that cycle all the way up, and where people had no listings, and then in the late 2000s when it came all the way down and there was nothing but listings and foreclosures. So now we're going through that cycle again.
Yeah, and I think it's so important for all of us, whether we're affiliates, lenders, real estate agents, to get a view of our business, our industry, through different lenses. And that's the beauty of this kind of thing, because we're from different companies, we're from different brokerages, and so we're not just hearing what our brokerage is pushing. We're getting insight from different places, and I think that gives us a much more well-rounded and balanced view of what's going on out there, and I think that helps us be better at what we do.
Agreed.
Let's see, 8507 Aspect. Who's going to pitch that one?
It's me. It's Ted Sanchez. How are you?
Hey, Ted. Good. Welcome.
No, it's this property has been on the market for 54 days, and we have had offers, but they have not been the right offers. They want to compare them with lower priced similar units available. And we are, of course, higher than the other properties. This property was initially listed for $1,155,000. We have dropped it to $1,125,000, and we are still hoping for the right offer. It's a unique property. It has a very beautiful, unobstructed view. It's in very good condition. Looks like new. It's a one-level unit on the third floor, and there is an elevator to the third floor. So, and it's a two-car garage, and it's walking distance to urban plazas, shopping centers, and park. It has 2 pools and 2 spas, fitness center, gym, yoga, cardio, barbecue patio, and game room. It has 2 homeowners association for a total of 638, and we are hoping for the right offer. We have had offers, but they have not been acceptable to the seller. So we continue to look for one offer. It's a 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 1,630 square feet, built in 2017, and it's available.
So
Please take a look at it and buy it.
Yeah, see, I look at this and I think, because this is North Mission Valley, and this to me seems comparable to a lot of the downtown condos. I mean, it just looks like an outstanding property. And if this were a downtown condo, those HOA dues would probably be double that, right?
Possibly.
Yeah, for the amenities that you've got and your parking, 2 garage spaces, I'm thinking probably yes. So, from that standpoint, it's a value, even though the price is high compared to most of what's in Mission Valley. The property is more like, a downtown. It's really top of the market, high end for Mission Valley. That's kind of how I view it.
And it is. I think you are correct.
I hope that you were able to glean some great information from the Pacific Southwest Association of Realtors Broker Caravan and Pitch session. If you've got any questions about anything real estate related, please feel free to visit my website, christianpeter.com, where you can schedule a quick 15-minute video chat and we can discuss any and all of your needs.